Welcome to the More Life Podcast, where creatives, problem solvers, and entrepreneurs talk about squeezing more out and finding meaning in this crazy thing we call life. Let's dive in. What's up, guys? Welcome back to another episode of the More Life Podcast. I am your host, Bart Aniston, if you're new around here. And today, we have a very special guest in the building, all the way international, Cassandra Lay. She's a first-generation Vietnamese-American living in Spain. She's a brand strategist and a copywriter, and she's the founder of the Quirky Pineapple Studio. Cassandra, please say hi to everybody.
Hello. Hi, everyone. I'm super excited to be here.
We're going to pretend like I didn't just do this whole intro and call you by the wrong name, by our producer Amanda's name.
Yeah.
And we're going to keep moving. And no one heard that part either, me just saying this.
Yeah, exactly.
For me, it's morning. I don't know what time it is over where you're at, but
it's 5 p.m.
It's 5 p.m. Oh my goodness. But yeah, I'm super excited to have you on the show. You're somebody who I really admire, and I'd love for you to explain to people what is it that you do? What is the Quirky Pineapple Studio?
What is the Quirky Pineapple Studio? That is a great question. So we are a brand strategy and copywriting content marketing agency. We work with, I said before, Black, Indigenous, people of color, queer folks, and intersectional feminist brands and businesses. If you are a mission-driven business, I assume, hopefully, that you are also, intersectionally feminist. And we work with them on brand strategy, content marketing strategy, and then if they need us to write copy, then we'll come in and write like website copy, sales page copy, all of that stuff. And then we do a lot of the content marketing pieces, mostly written and social media.
Wow. That's a lot.
Yeah, that was a mouthful.
You remember that and say it all the time, right?
Yeah, I do.
I always find myself liking companies that are specifically like for women. Like there's a lot of like, I do this, but for female entrepreneurs I'm like, but the content's good. Like I'm still going to follow you and I'm still going to write down the notes and everything. I know I'm not maybe your demographic, but I like that you also said people of color, minorities, people that are intersect. So that is also very powerful because as people of minority, it's great to help elevate others and to understand their plight, and that also shares a little bit of information when you're doing your work, which is copywriting. So what type of clients are you serving? Like, how did you get to a place where you feel happy in the name, the Quirky Pineapple Express, which is a really fun name to say? So how are you finding clients? What type of people are you servicing?
Yeah, so we've gone through quite a few different types of clientele. I kind of like niche hopped, I guess is like the best way to describe it. When we first started, I was working with hospitality and tourism brands because I actually studied hospitality and tourism management. And I think out of guilt, I wanted to work with those businesses because I didn't go directly into that. So I was like, I'm not really using my degree. And then it kind of shifted to small business owners. And then I wanted to work more with like social enterprises or social impact businesses. I think when I made that switch to work with more social impact businesses, it wasn't actually like vocabulary that people had. So when I actually reached out to people who I consider social impact, they were like, no, you got the wrong person. I was like, are you sure?
That's really funny.
I'm pretty sure you are. Yeah, I'm pretty sure you are social impact. And then because they didn't know, I was like, okay, I got to come up with like a different name for people. But now we work mainly with culture strategists, leadership consultancies or like leadership development consultancies. We've worked with events, so like actual event organizers. And then actual event like as a brand, and then kind of like a mix of people, mostly service-based businesses though.
Yeah. I'm going to admit to the audience, I have so many questions. This is going to be a little bit self-serving. Number one, how do you, from a business standpoint, find it niche hopping for you? Are you kind of is it kind of like riding waves? Like oh, there seems to be a gap in the market. I'm gonna jump on this right. You know how like TikTokers find trends.
Yeah.
You know they're like this is
Yeah.
the trend right now. Everyone's doing this dance. Is that kind of what it's like niche hopping? And how long do you per se like do any one of these audience specific approaches? Is it a couple of years? Is it just like 18 months?
Um, so niche hopping, I don't know if I would recommend it for people.
I've never heard it before today.
Yeah, I don't know if that's like the best business advice out there, to be honest. It kind of just happened gradually, I think, because based off of like the goals and also the values that I had with the Quirky Pineapple Studio, I wanted to start using like our services to better support people who are mission driven. So whether they give back or maybe they are, I don't know, trying to fight
Right, they have like a
racial
cause.
justice and all of that stuff. Yeah. So it kind of gradually happened like that. The funny thing is, so I say I niche hopped, but I do think like a lot of the clients that we still bring in, and then the people who reach out, they kind of fall under all of the niches that I mentioned before. I think the core thing is that they are social impact businesses. So they have an aspect where they want to give back to their community or where they want to donate like a portion of their profits or they, I don't know, volunteer some of their services to causes or organizations that can't actually pay.
So how did you decide that that was going to be your overarching almost like mission in life? Like this is kind of like it's very purpose
Oof.
driven, like I'd love to hear a little bit maybe of the backstory. Why is this so important for you?
Yeah. Um, I think it always has been. I probably just didn't have like the language or maybe like my own awareness to say it. And then I don't think I also had like the courage to go out and be like, I'm an anti-capitalist marketer. Like when I
I
first
love it. I
started
love it.
working, right? Like it's very strange to meet somebody and like they say, "Oh, I run an anti-capitalist marketing agency." And you're like, "I don't know if two and two go together."
That's so
Um,
good.
yeah. But I don't know, it kind of just happened because I started digging more into like my values and how I wanted to run my business and like the types of things that felt good to me. And when I started getting really clear on my values, that's when I kind of was like, oh, okay, well, it has to be this way. Like, there's no other way for me to do it because I cannot bite my tongue. Like, I can't keep quiet. I can't just work with anybody who wants to like make a quick buck or, they're just in it for whatever they're in it for. I need something that actually like moves
Right.
human
Yeah.
society forward. I don't know. Yeah.
And even your team members, they understand the mix. I feel like, when you're talking about impact businesses and people that have consciences when they're doing business, you also, when you service those people and you have a company like that, you also attract people who are attuned to that, to the injustice, and to the understanding of how the capitalistic world has effects on the society and the people that live in that society. So, do you attract the right people? How does that differentiate? Like when you're meeting people, or like I don't know if you hire other copywriters, like junior associates or stuff like that, that come and work for you. Is that something that you're looking for when you're interviewing? That you're kind of like, okay, this person is open enough, and we're mission aligned, where we have similar values.
Yeah. So I guess I'll explain on both the client and the like team side. So with the client side, a lot of the people that come to us, they already have like those values that I have, so we share in them. And I think they're looking for, at least in my situation, they're looking for a marketing team to basically help them almost like step even further into, I guess, communicating those values. So they really like a lot of like the copy that we already have on our website. They really enjoy like the content that we create. Sometimes I think they are a little bit like shocked at how maybe like open we are to say things like, oh, anti-capitalist marketing agency. But I think they almost look at us like, oh, I want to work with them because they can help me kind of express my values even more and kind of showcase that in the marketing that we do. So that's like on the client side. And then on the team side, we have one other copywriter that works with us, like has been working with us for the past almost 3 years. My partner actually works with us now. So he quit his job and then joined us full
Awesome.
time. Yeah. And then we have two other copywriters who come in on like a project basis. They actually all are interested in working in I guess, in a business that is more values driven. So a lot of the times I'll actually receive emails from other writers, other creators, and they're like, "Oh, I love your mission. Like, I love the work that you do. I want to use my work or use my skill sets to actually do something better for the world. And I want to work with you." So that's kind of how we attract them as
Mm.
well.
And as a anti, I forget the
Capitalist.
capitalist, I guess marketer, yeah, anti-capitalist marketer, which I love that term. What is what's your leadership style? Like, I feel like you're a very fun person to work with. But that could be all fake. Let us know.
It could be,
Hey, hey,
honestly. I
hey,
mean,
listen, you
ooh,
also have a personal brand, so you have a brand to
yeah.
maintain. But what's it like behind the closed doors when it's just you and the team that you're trying to
Ooh, I
get shit
will.
done?
Okay, let's reveal, pull back the curtains. So I think my leadership style, I know I'm quite charismatic, and I also know that I sometimes do lack um, explanations for people who might not understand. So a lot of the times, like previously, I worked with other copywriters, other creators, other content writers, and they've all been in the marketing space before. They kind of understand like workflow and how deliverables should look and all of that stuff. I think for me, when my partner joined, because he's not actually doing any of like the creative marketing stuff, he's taking care of like our operations. um, that was like a really big shock to, I think, both of us. It was. I think if he were here and you asked him the same question, we say this all the time. The first 6 months of us like transitioning to work together,
Uh-huh.
ooh, those were some
Uh-huh.
intense six
Yeah.
months.
Well,
And
guess what? We have your partner on the call right now. Please come on.
oh, really? Oh, yeah. Hey,
I can
it was
imagine. I
intense.
can imagine the first 6 months you're learning dynamics, right? And
Yes.
there are now public dynamics where there's
Yeah.
open correspondence that other people are now involved in. So this is where there's and again, you're the it's very interesting that you are this is your company, but I see you as like the culture visionary. Like, culture is big, and this is what I really like. Your partner is probably really much on like the operation systems. This is how things operate. So it's both very integral parts to building that out within your team, right?
Oh, yeah. And for the first 6 months, I think for 6 to 8, we have like an office space. So, like this is my office now. But when we first started working together, I was like, oh my gosh, it'd be so fun. We'll be like coworkers. We can sit next to each other. Ooh, Bart. We learned after those 6 months that we need separate
Oh
offices.
yeah.
Yeah, at first I was like, "Oh my gosh, this is so cool. Like we can work together. We can like," and I think I didn't realize this because I didn't know like that much about my working style. Maybe I knew about my working style as somebody who works alone
Yes.
and has been working alone and remotely with their team asynchronously for the past like 5 years. I'm not used to having coworkers where my partner worked in corporate and he was always in like an office setting where like, people chat and they make jokes. And I was like, this will be so fun. We can like ask each other questions and all of this. And then I realized I hate it when people ask me questions. Like, I hate it.
Uh,
I'm getting better.
Also, like, you're the type of person who this or yeah, the way that you and your partner are so willing to share an office out the gate tells me that you have a good relationship outside of the office, which is great.
Yeah.
Because a lot of people would be like, or at least you guys enjoy spending a lot of time together or work well together. Because a lot of people would be like, hey, I love you, but if I'm gonna come to this company and leave my job and come work with you, I need my own office. But he's like, no, it's fine. We'll share
Yeah.
an office. It's great.
Yeah, we were like, we'll share an office. It'll be great. And he was like, yeah, he wanted to make jokes and he like, put on music. And I'm over here like headphones on, like creating content.
Yes.
And then he'll be like, oh, ha ha ha. And I'm like, no, it's quiet
It's
time.
quiet time.
It's time for me. It's time for me to do my work. But then the funny thing is, he would be putting together numbers because he does like our
Yep.
bookkeeping and like the operation side. So he needs like full concentration to like do all the data stuff. And I'm in the background recording a reel and I'm like dancing.
I'm sure he has a loud keyboard too, like
Oh,
when
yeah.
he's doing. Oh
Good
man,
times, good times.
yeah, that's a huge dynamic. Even without the personal relationship that you have with your partner, working with people that you've maybe always had online. We're a completely
Yeah.
online group. We're actually meeting for the first time all together in person this evening. So
Oh,
I've met
that's
Amanda before.
amazing.
Amanda's our producer. She's on the call for those of you listening. But the rest of and I've met our art director and our video editor. But they're like three people that I have never met before. They just live online, and we all live
They just live
locally. Yeah,
online.
and we've never made the connection to come and do it. But we finally prioritized this enough, and it's really good for culture and for morale. But if
Yeah.
everybody who works for me came to my office, because I work in a co-working space and I have like a desk, but if everyone came to where I work, it would be quite a different type of dynamic in the workspace. There are benefits, of course, in terms of sharing
Yeah.
culture, sharing vision, elevating values. I think those things are extremely important as well. So we try to emphasize those things when in a digital space. Um, but yeah, like working with somebody in a close quarters, that that takes a certain level of intimacy and trust,
Oh, yeah.
and it can also go very, very sideways very fast.
Yeah. We're doing better.
You're doing
We're doing a
better.
lot better.
Exactly. You
Yeah,
learned.
we both have our own offices, so it's great. Now we chat on Slack.
I'm going for coffee now. Do you want anything?
Yeah.
Yeah,
I'm making breakfast.
exactly. Exactly. I'm making breakfast. Are you doing Slack at home as well?
Yeah, no, we do Slack at home. That's the thing.
How do I integrate this into my marriage? That'd be fantastic.
Right.
Slack at home. Don't call me. Don't
Yeah.
text me. Just put it in Slack. I'll see it. I'll
Yeah.
respond. That's
Exactly.
actually not that bad of an idea. So you do a lot of market research, a lot of consultancy with different clients who are impact focused in their businesses. How are you doing your market research? How do you bring your best version of value to your clients?
Mm. So funnily enough, like so we do market research for the Quirky Pineapple Studio. For our clients though, they need to come with market research already prepared
Okay,
for us. Yeah. So we don't actually do like the market research for them. I think if we did, that would require like
full on
more.
researchers, like a whole other department.
Yeah, full on researchers. Because, like, we are good at reading data and, like, we do it because it's part of marketing, of course. But I think where me and the team excel, except for maybe my partner, because he loves maybe numbers and stuff, um, our stuff is more of like translating a lot of whatever you already have, like the research and data, into the really fun, creative stuff. And making the content more like community engaging and for you to actually start building rapport with your clients.
Got it. Okay. And what do you
Yeah.
mean by you do market research for Corky Pineapple? Like you're doing, you're trying to learn more about your own segments.
Yeah.
Oh, okay, I got it.
Yeah.
So, how often are you doing that then? Market research for like Quirky
You
Pineapple.
know, I used to do it a lot more when we didn't have such like a full client roster, and then
Yeah.
when we got a full client roster, I was like, oh, well, I'll wait.
Ah, you have to find
But
the
I
time where it's slow to kind of.
Yeah.
Yes.
Actually, so I just sent out an email asking for market research
I
calls.
saw that in the PSS or
Sometimes,
the PS.
yes. I also used to get on calls with like past clients to do like feedback calls and kind of see where we could
That's
improve
very
like
cool.
our operations. That helped a lot. And then just a regular survey, which is
Yep,
okay.
you can't go wrong with that. Do
Yeah.
do you use I have a lot of questions. Okay, I'm trying to get them
Yeah.
in the right order here, not just for the listeners but also for me as well.
Yeah.
So, managing client relations. Um is there anything specific or special that you do that you think provides a unique experience that makes them feel like, okay, you get with the Quirky Pineapple because they have good results, but also there is X that happens that makes me feel really good when I talk to them, when I communicate with them? Is there a brand tone that you guys like to present when you're in communications and building that trust?
Yeah, definitely. So I think this is where my hospitality management degree comes into play. And then also, so my parents, they owned a business together, which is LOL. Can you see where it comes from? Um, so they owned a business together for 20 plus years. And their
Without
thing was
Slack.
they had, it was not with, they didn't have
They didn't
Slack.
have Slack.
They, no, not back then. But they had clients that they basically served three generations of the clients. So they had a spa. And when they first started, the like grandpa, or at that time, maybe like the elder dad came. And then it was the next child. And then eventually they got married and they had kids. So I think their like client loyalty almost translates now into how I run the business. So we definitely have a brand voice and tone with how we interact with all of our clients. All of our emails are signed off in the same way, which is stay quirky. And then I think we create like quite a personal relationship with all of the clients that we have. A lot of the times, our clients, they tell us, like, oh, I understand that like you have your business and you have other clients, but like the way that we work together, it feels like you are just championing my brand almost sometimes even more than I am for myself,
Yeah,
which is really awesome.
that's really cool. And people need that because there's a lot of effort that goes into, let's say, product launch or campaign marketing, and sometimes you get lost in the sauce, especially with content marketing.
Oh
Yeah,
yeah.
we do this obviously for our agency, and it is one hell of a machine that is
Oh
required
yeah.
to pump out content. If we could have a camera right now on Amanda's face, she'd probably be smiling and nodding her head, because she does a lot of our writing or all of our writing. Because Lord knows I ain't gonna do it. Um, I'm not a writer, and that's probably the one thing that I wish I was to be like a writer or at least have the skill that I can turn it on, because
Mm.
everything about marketing is writing and it requires that. But if you're lost in the sauce, your clients, it's really good to have somebody who's just like trying to elevate, who's just trying to say, okay, listen, I'm going to help you, I'm going to help champion you. That's something that's really necessary because you can feel defeated and you can very easily feel like, is this even working, are we getting the results, or are we this is this just part of the new grind that we have to live? Some people often that we talk to who do content marketing for themselves, or if they're an agency they're doing it for clients, they get beat up by it because they don't see an end in sight, or they don't have enough systems to allow them to take on more clients. And I think with content marketing specifically and getting a whole pipeline full, Systems and check-ins are crucial. Revisions and editing are extremely important, and finding out cadence and being consistent is probably the first step. You know what I mean? Like you gotta just find what is really good for you and then stick to that. It doesn't have to match your favorite blogger or somebody who you admire, because you don't know what kind of support they have to be able to produce all that
Yeah.
content and how they're being able to. I've got lost on that track many times where I think I'm the next Seth Godin or something, and we have a month where we
Hey,
publish
you could be.
25 articles or 25 pieces of content, and then the next month we've published one. So
Hey, it's balance.
it's balance. You got to find what works for you. Not everything
Yeah.
is for everybody. Um, yeah, there's so much in terms of like when you are first getting to know a client. Are you just using questionnaires, or are you having longer onboarding sessions when you're trying? Because writing for somebody takes a certain level of brand knowledge and also personality knowledge.
Yeah. Yeah, so we have like quite an extensive onboarding process, lots of questionnaires. Well, not lots, but like a long, long questionnaire. And then we ask them to send over some of their like favorite pieces that they've actually written, so then we can kind of see where their voice and tone is. And then we also have an onboarding call. So sometimes the onboarding call can range anywhere from like 60 to 90 minutes, just so like we can actually get the chance to talk to them and kind of see how they are. I think something that we also do that is quite unique is in our onboarding questionnaires. We don't just ask for like business information. We ask also for like fun things. So like I think one of the questions that we always ask is like, oh, if you could leave and travel to anywhere in the world right now, like where would you go and why? And that's just like to understand a little bit more about their personality. We also ask about like accessibility and stuff. So, like, if they are neurodivergent, if they have like a disability, is there something that we also need to do to accommodate so that our work is the best that it can be?
Yeah,
And I think that helps a lot.
yeah, it takes a lot of care. You showcase a lot of care when you do stuff like that, so they feel that the
Yeah.
work actually represents them and is speaking for them and is servicing them in a way that is authentic and genuine. Speaking of authenticity and being genuine, how do you stay authentic and genuine when sometimes you can fall into lumping certain types of clients together? You're like, okay, I know, we've already done, let's say, a hotel before, or we've done two or three hotels. I have a gist of what they want. So how do you stay relevant and genuine to the specific client when you're going through something like that?
Yeah, I've definitely fallen into that trap because sometimes with like service providers, they'll be so similar that I'm like, okay, I kind of see where they're going with this. I think just so that I don't fall into like just regurgitating a lot of like the same things that we've done before, we usually follow like a methodology framework, which I call like the quirky octopus. If you're on the email, you
I've
might have
seen
seen
the quirky
the
octopus. So
graphic.
yeah.
It's Senor Quirky Octopus is a very cute little fella. So we follow that, and then at least from there we kind of see what our clients like and don't like, because maybe they'll want like almost the same style medium of content, but the way they would express themselves is like totally not the same. So we just have to make sure that we follow their brand voice and tone.
Okay, that's really cool. Speaking of your email, Quirky Octopus, and all that kind of stuff, if you guys have not signed up for this newsletter, we're gonna put it inside the show description, and Cassandra is gonna let us know how to get involved with her near the end. But I wanted to talk about one of the specific emails you had sent out, and I've been
Oh
talking.
gosh, which one?
Oh yeah, yeah. I read a lot of them. I'm very fortunate to have an administrator, an assistant, and she goes through my email. She's like, "So can I get rid of these newsletters?" I'm like, "Absolutely not.
No.
You cannot get rid of these newsletters. These are the things that I read to myself, and eventually I will get to all of them. I know a lot of them are still unread. I will get to them eventually. They're the things that I really do
That's so
enjoy.
funny.
But the one you talked about with knowing when to pivot, I think you were talking about, where is it? I'm looking at it right now.
Oh, that's so
Oh,
funny.
when to know it's time to pivot, and you were talking about your messaging timeline because I guess you guys are revamping, and
We are.
it kind of struck a chord with me because I've been talking about it slowly. I don't know how to. I don't know how, but I don't feel like I'm doing this the right way. In the sense that I know that there's a pit. I'm a very like sense person, so I can sense something is changing. So I already started just to put certain things in place, but I haven't told. I love that Amanda's on this call. I haven't told the team the full
Oh,
the full roadmap that lives in my brain, which is very
oh
crazy
yeah.
because usually I can't get anything done without my team. I'm very much useless without them. Um, so I'm like, I haven't said this in completion to anyone, um, and I even hinted at it at my on my last episode of the podcast that just came out, where I said
Oh.
if you've been paying attention to all of the solo episodes where it's just me for the last maybe 5 of them, you probably can see where this is going. So there's like Easter eggs that I've
Oh,
been
I love it.
dropping.
Oh, this is like a Taylor Swift thing now.
Didn't she come out in a blue dress like 2 days ago? Yeah.
Yes, I don't understand what that means because I don't actually follow her, but every I saw people's stories and they were like,
Yeah.
the blue
I have
dress.
no
I'm
clue
like,
what that
okay.
means, but I follow another podcast that explains things. I think that means 1989 re-record is coming out. I'm sure Amanda is probably shaking her
Oh yes,
head.
I think so because I think she talked about it. I'm not. I don't listen to her music much, but
Neither do
I
I.
think it is coming
And
out.
Carly Kloss was
I
in
don't
the
know.
audience when that happened, and it's a whole big thing.
Yeah,
Um, so there's a whole big timeline. I love that we just had a Taylor Swift segment, like a mini
yeah, I
podcast
know.
within the podcast. If you were waiting for Taylor Swift content, I'm happy that we gave you about 30 seconds of like a micro podcast within another podcast, just about the stuff you needed to know. But in the last maybe 6 7 months, how we do our business, and I guess that's, I wear a lot of hats where you have your partner who's helping you. I'm also the operations person,
Oh yeah.
system wise, but I also keep track of finances. We have a bookkeeper, but you can see where things are trending, and then you start to hear of other ways businesses are being affected, and especially where I live in Canada. So I'm just trying to switch slowly into a little bit more of a personal brand, away from
Mm.
only being. I very much don't post a lot on social media. You follow me on LinkedIn. I don't post that very often. I'm sure you barely.
Yeah, I was like, I don't see you
I
post.
I don't. I'm horrible at this. Um, but this is, I feel, where the next place I'm supposed to be. I don't know if it's for everyone, but I know for us, like it's probably the right thing for us, and we've leaned a lot on our transformation team, our creative team, to produce great work for clients, and we're going to be switching a little bit more towards emphasis on Amanda's department, who's listening, our producer, because she's our content manager and helping produce more content and education. And we're trying to release a course in the fall of this
Oh, that's
year.
super
So
exciting.
we're elevating this podcast. We're trying to make this into something that is more of a platform where people can find resources and live streams and be a community all together. So there's different ways to make the same dollar. And for me, I've always had this passion of helping creative entrepreneurs. So when I read your email and I saw your rollout plan that you've been talking about in terms of your revamped timeline, from like April all the way to August, I'm just like, okay, so uh, I like what's happening here. I see this happening, and I may not post often, let's say on LinkedIn, but I do see your posts very often. So I wanted to hear a little bit more about this, just out of curiosity. Like I said, this is all for me.
Yeah, sorry, listeners.
You're here for the ride.
Bart thought about you, but like maybe not
Yeah,
as much
I
in
gave
this
you Taylor
episode.
Swift. What more do you want?
Yeah, sorry. Actually, I just saw Amanda's comment. Since she's like here in the background, can I read it before I go into my spiel?
Yeah, sorry, go ahead.
Okay. Amanda says Taylor Swift is a cultural reset. And then she said in this essay, I guess, I don't understand the reference, but I guess she is a cultural reset. But
I don't know
anyways,
what that means, and I
I
also
don't know what that
my
means either.
I'm sure Amanda we could have a whole episode of Taylor Swift just with Amanda. And I don't know anything about Taylor Swift. I thought she was born in like Texas, and someone told me she was like from the Midwest. I don't know anything.
I don't know. I have no idea. But anyways, okay, so let me
Yeah,
share my rollout. Wait, what was the question? That was my rollout, right?
yeah,
How
your rollout.
many?
What? Yeah, let's talk about your rollout.
Okay, so I don't know if because you also have a marketing agency
Yes, I
or
do.
like a design. Like, is yours more specific with like
We are a
design or
design
just like all
agency,
marketing?
so our bread and butter is branding and web design.
Okay, that's what I thought.
Yeah, and then we do marketing, but only for current clients. Like if we built your
Got
website,
it.
we'll do some help you with some marketing.
Okay, so I don't know if this year, like, you all have felt a lot of just I don't know, uncertainty, push and pull, tension. So for me, like in the beginning of like, so the Quirky Pineapple Studio at the end of this year will be 6 years old. Um, in the first 2 years of business, I was just like fl- derping around. I don't really know what I was doing. I was trying.
Trying to pay
I was trying
bills.
really hard. Yeah.
Yeah,
And then COVID hit for us, or really for the world. But then sorry, COVID hit.
the whole planet.
And then, yeah, and then that's when the business actually boomed.
Yeah, me too.
So, like, seriously, everybody was like contacting us. That's when we almost switched into like a hybrid business model where we had coaching and education and we had courses, masterminds, memberships. We had like digital products and all of that stuff. And people wanted that from us. And so we had that side. And then we also had the services side, like the actual agency where
Yeah,
I was still servicing clients. And I had some like contractors come in and help, but it was still me like taking care of like a big chunk of it. And then I got burnt out from 2020 to 2021 with all of the coaching on top of the services. So I shut down that arm of the business because I was like, this just cannot be. I cannot do this. I didn't want to be on calls. So we leaned really heavily into the
yeah,
agency and it started growing even more. People were ready to pay bigger,
oh, absolutely.
right? Like bigger projects.
Yep.
And that gave me the opportunity to actually hire more people. It gave me the opportunity to like build out more of the business and like the operations and all of that stuff. And then we were doing so well in 2022. We were like really set up to like grow even more. And the first like 3 months of the year, I was like, oh my gosh, like this is good. We got like leads coming in. We've got like the projects. We actually might even need to hire even more people. And then I don't know what happened, but in April, things just kind of went
Of
like
last year or this year?
of this year.
Okay. This is way too similar. Everything that you've said up to now is pretty much what's been going on. It's
Yeah.
very odd. I'm just like, what's happened? Because it's literally April when everything just changed. And I've
Yeah.
also we're this year's 6 year for us as well. End of this year, 6 year, or yeah, 5.5, 6 years. So we've had the similar things: pandemic, thriving. Like wow,
Yep.
okay, I'm gonna have to hire people because there's no
Yep.
way I can do this. Everyone I know who runs a business is like flailing or not working
Yeah.
or doesn't have any more clients, and somehow we just kept like doing better
Growing.
numbers and all that kind of
Yes.
stuff. So then 2021 we started hiring people. 2022 we
Mhm.
hired more, and
Yep.
2023 I'm just like the January 2023 I'm like we're gonna make $1 million. Like
Oh my gosh, that's amazing.
no,
Yeah, I was like, we're gonna like triple.
in my mind, $1 million is not what we were anywhere projected to be. But in
Projected.
my mind, I'm like, what is stopping us now? There's nothing that can stop us.
That's exactly what I was
We're just
thinking.
going to just keep growing at an alarming rate,
Yep.
where we're going to need to have better systems, more people involved,
Yep.
keep things going, because we just had such big clients reach out to us at the beginning of 2023 of this year, and we were doing
Yep.
bigger projects as well. So, and then everything just hit the brakes, and I'm just like, okay, if I was to switch to a different model, no one knows who the
Hmm.
hell I am.
Yeah.
They know creative partner, and I don't show my face that much on creative partner. We don't have that big of a following on creative partner.
Yeah.
So if I do an adjacent or a switcheroo here and say, listen, we're gonna now also have this parallel side of the business, not you can only expect a certain percentage of people that would understand that and make the transition, that would still follow it and still understand how they can benefit from it. So if we only have, let's say, an audience of 500 people and I'm expecting 10%, that's not a lot of people that I'm going to expect to be in this other side. So I'm like, people need to see my face and see me as a
Yep.
thought leader, and maybe I should be talking more and being more vocal and not letting these things exist in silos without me. And that's
Yeah.
where I feel like you did it in a much better way that was more like planned out. I was dropping hints.
I don't know. I think it was like force planned.
It was
So
first
like,
planned.
I didn't have plans. Like I had the personal brand always like running in the background. I like, kind of um paused it to focus on the business, and then when I got really like busy with the business, I was like I miss my creative like outlet. So then I went back to it. So it always like push and pull with personal brand and business brand. Um but now I think it's getting to the point where it's like kind of what you were saying, like I need to pivot more to personal brand, to funnel a lot of like the work that we want to get. And now I'm also even reconsidering like, okay, what is it that we're actually going to offer? Who are we actually going to say yes to now? Because like I had people who were really great, but then they had to stop working with us because like they didn't have budget. And then I don't know if like after April things got better, but like after April for us, it was like, well, we're like skirting by. It's okay. July hit and then it got even worse.
Oh,
Um,
everything the exact same.
okay. Well then yeah. So then
I've already
like
written
July
off
hit it.
August. I'm having better hopes for
Yeah.
September.
Oh yeah. I people have been asking me like, "Oh, how's your August going?" And I'm like, "You know what? Business is it's going, like we have enough to like keep going, and like we're still trying to like pitch and make sales. We still have like leads come in slower. But I'm like, this is the first time I think in like my actual business career that I'm just like living a slow living era. I am like slow girl summer
Slow
over
girl summer.
here. I'm just like living it up. I'm like going to the natural rivers. I'm swimming in natural swimming
It's so
pools. I'm going to
funny.
meet
Yep.
friends. I am just living
That's what
my
I mentioned
European summer life.
on my podcast. I was like, I'm giving myself a break. Like, I've been
Yeah.
stressing out about this, and I'm like, you know what? I eventually will come back with more intense and more intentionality. But right now, things are slow, and I'm just accepting it. And I'm just like, you know what? It is what it is. This is how it's going to be. I'm not going to push myself and stress myself out for no reason. So yeah, I wish I was in Europe and living a European slow girl summer.
Slow, slow, slow girl
Slow
summer.
girl summer,
You
patent
can't see me.
pending.
I'm doing like peace
Yeah.
signs over here.
Patent pending, slow girl summer
Yeah.
2023. But yeah, I wish I was in Europe doing that, and I wish I could just relax in a different way. But I've been very much pushing the idea that there is a shift happening in the marketplace and how people are going to be spending their dollars. And as entrepreneurs, we have to be in tune with how people want to spend their money, because that's how we make money, especially in the
Yep.
marketing world. So yeah, it's a very unique place, and What does the communication look like for you and your team? Is there a restructuring that happens within your organization? Tell me everything.
Um, so restructuring, I think, happened gradually because like contracts just ended and we just didn't have work. So I had to be honest with like the contractors that we have. So we don't have anybody full time except for me and my partner, which I think helps us be a little bit more agile. So we told those contractors like, hey, this is just the reality, but like if something does come up, like you're the first people that we want to call. We still keep them like in the loop. So they're there. And then with like the core team, which is me, my partner, and the other copywriter, we had to have honest conversations and just be like, okay, not only is it slow because we don't have like a huge client roster right now, it's also slow because we don't have a lot of leads reaching out. So what can we do instead? And funnily enough, like my team was like, okay, well, let's finally like rework the brand like we wanted to. Like we've been talking about coming up with like a new strategy for our socials. We've been coming up with like a new, like we've been talking about coming up with like a new way to restructure the website. We've been talking about like being more community centered. How can we actually do that? And so now in our meetings, I give them an update about like if we have leads coming in or if we have new projects, but we're now talking about, okay, what can we do so that the Quirky Pineapple Studio continues to disrupt like social media or like the marketing scene? What can we do to like bring the community back? And it's not just, oh, us trying to sell stuff. It's like us really trying to highlight everybody else.
Right.
And that's been fun.
How often do you guys meet and talk about your own content strategy to disrupt?
We meet by, is it bi-monthly? So twice a month?
Yeah, semi-month. I think bi-month. Yeah, I don't know actually. I'm not a writer.
I don't know how
I
to
don't know
say
English.
it either. Me neither. I'm like, yeah, we meet twice a month.
Twice a month.
To talk about that. And then if we need to like really develop a whole thing, then we set up a separate meeting aside from that for just talking about marketing.
Got it. And are you more of a you appreciate initiative rather than map out? Like, I don't know if that makes sense. Like, do you want to map it out for them and then give them tasks, or do you be like here, or do you be like, wow, Bart, or or are you more like in the vein? Here's the goal that I want. I want you to make it happen for me.
Uh, Neither of those.
Oh, what do you be like?
So what we do is, so I do come in at least with like the direction and the goal because I don't think anybody else can really come up with anything if I don't be like, yeah,
You're
this
the
is
chief quirky
it.
pineapple.
Yeah, so I still come in with direction and goal, and then we actually brainstorm all together and say, okay, well, this is how we have been doing it. Um, what else could we do? And this is usually because, like, me and the copywriter, like, we've been in the marketing space, so we see, like, oh, this is what works. My partner is actually the one that joins the calls, and he's like, well, what if we tried this? And it's like something totally out of left field, and maybe it doesn't like fully work with how marketing could work for us, but we like try and adapt it so we still try and like see if we can do the idea that he mentioned. And that actually has been super helpful because like our brains just don't function the same way.
Yeah,
So we're giving everybody almost like the same
equal voice.
chance to like, yeah, come up with different ideas and then adapt to what the Quirky Pineapple Studio needs, not to what I need. It's what works best for the Quirky Pineapple. And sometimes my ideas are total shit. Like I'll be like, oh yeah, I'm going to do this. And they're like, you've been saying that for like 5 months. You haven't done it. So maybe we should do something else.
Yeah, yeah. I love it. This is really insightful, getting to the pivot portion of the show, and also learning about you and your partner's work habits and
Yeah. It's like a whole marriage right now.
yeah,
We're not even married.
Well, you spend a lot of time together, so you
Yes.
basically married at this point.
I know. He would say the same thing. And I would be like, diamond ring.
Yeah, exactly. Where is that again? I need that. I
Yeah.
need that. I want that.
Yeah.
Uh, Cassandra, I really enjoyed talking with you, and I hope we can do this again at some point. I would love for you to let everybody know where they can find you, where they can get resources from you, and how they too can be quirky, like the Quirky Pineapple Studio.
Oh, come to the quirky side. Okay, so if you want to hang out with us on Instagram, you can hang out with me on my personal brand, which is at Cassandra TLE. The Quirky Pineapple Studio is at the Quirky Pineapple Studio. I feel like I'm just going to do a list. Our website is thequirkypineapple.com. If you want to get on our email list, I send out a weekly email series
really
called
good.
Marketing Hot Takes, where I basically just share a marketing hot take every week. And then if you also want to listen to my podcast, it's called I'm Lost, So What? And it's a podcast to have nuanced conversations for multicultural people who are trying to figure out how they can belong, but also they want to carve their own path and identity. So I talk a lot about like feelings there. That's a good time. It's a good time.
Yeah, we didn't even I genuinely think we have to do this again, because we didn't even get to talk about like, the whole other side of what this podcast is to do, is to elevate the mental awareness that it takes to run a company, and how like I said, this was, you see, there's a whole other side of this that we can. So everyone go and follow Cassandra. Make sure you get all the quirkiness. Don't forget to use your code quirky for your Taylor Swift concert tickets that are coming out on ticketmaster.ca.
50%.
50% off.
50% off.
50% off only for you listeners. Don't let anybody know.